Hi, welcome back to Nebula 404 in our tech segment here. And we're here again with Nick. He's going to share you some tech today with Alexa.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Excited to be here again. So Nick, tell us a little bit about what we're going to do today.
Yeah, so we're going to be taking a look at our Alexa, specifically the Echo Dot that we have here. And we're going to be looking at it from a development perspective, right? So what can we do as someone who wants to code and wants to move into maybe a career of IoT, and how do we go from 0 up to, fully certified and having people looking to hire you without you even reaching out?
That's amazing, right? So we were introduced to Alexa a couple years ago. We started a program called the AI Challenge through an organization out in California called edequity.global. And through that partnership, we actually ended up partnering together in a way where we brought that brand under our brand, or We Connect the Dots, so I'm a not-for-profit. And so excited to have Shauna Rule, who's the founder and executive director of edequity.global. And she's very passionate about doing coding and teaching women, especially getting women from underrepresented populations or communities into this field, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's such opportunities for women in here. And so through that partnership, we did a challenge 2 years ago and helped support her do that. And this year it was fully under the We Connect the Dots brand. And that partnership and what that program is about teaching people how to use the AI to create solutions that can help people. And you can certainly visit edequityglobal.com and see some of the outcomes the students produced. And that's an annual program. So if you're interested in learning this stuff and working with teams and really getting engaged with other people to learn how to do this, you can sign up for that next year when we do it again. It's every January. We'll be repeating that program. And so excited to offer these types of training experiences, and that's totally free for participants to join in on that. So let's take a walk through and see what do you have to do to kind of get started with this stuff, because today's session is really just about awareness, right? And then we'll come back other sessions and we'll certainly share more with you. So we want you to come back and watch us again. But today's session is really an intro of how do you get started.
All right, so what we're going to be doing is taking a look at what is like the most basic thing that we can do with Alexa, and then how do we scale it up to being super custom. Okay. So we've got this thing, blueprints.amazon.com, so it's Amazon Blueprints or Alexa Blueprints, and what we're looking to do is use an existing blueprint and give it our own custom information, and then it will be locally available on my own Alexa on my own network, okay. Right? In the future, you would want to create a skill that you could develop and deploy, and that will become accessible to the global community. Today, what we're doing is nice and quick, and it allows it to be locally accessible to your devices.
So we're going to do this Alexa Blueprints. I want to pause for a second and just kind of address the audience stuff here. Is like who's this good for, right? What education? Where does this play a good role, right? So from an educator perspective, high school definitely, college definitely. So high school and up, right?
Yeah.
Middle school probably a little bit too.
Well, this blueprints you could be coming in at a lower school and middle school. Yep. And have the kids, put together some jokes and stuff like.
They have fun with this, I'm sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
What kid wouldn't have fun doing something with Alexa, right?
Exactly. So this could be your introduction to development, right? Like, if I say this, Alexa, say back to me this. Yeah. Right. So that's really we're not doing any coding, but you're starting to tackle that mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And what I love about this too, and I want to add this piece, is that in our Alexa Challenge, one of the things that we incorporated into the curriculum for that program was Stanford's design thinking. Because I think that that's a key thing here. This is a great way to introduce design thinking to kids through this kind of a concept. Very simple to do, and I think learning design thinking is really important because it helps them use that model of thinking with other aspects in their doing even projects they're working out of school.
Mm-hmm. So Lori, what we've got set up here already is we can ask Alexa who's the best mom. So I would like you to go ahead and ask Alexa who is the best mom.
Oh really? Alexa, who's the best mom?
I just compared all moms in history, and my conclusion is that yours is the best.
Oh, Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. That made me feel pretty good.
There you go. So all you have to do to get that sort of thing set up is come in and choose what would you like. So that was actually a Q&A. And right over here, you can click on custom Q&A, and it's the default one, but you could go ahead and click on make your own and fill in the questions, right? So you say, Alexa, and then you give it a question. And then it's gonna, so we've got alternates to the question. We've got who is the best mom or who is the best mom in the
different
world.
phrases or how it might be said, right? So they can come up with that, right?
So this is actually really good from like a psychological standpoint, right? How does the average person say something?
Yeah.
You've got to think about that.
Yeah.
As I do web development a lot, so UX experience, you're thinking of how would a normal person or a user do this, right?
Yeah. And what I love about this too is I think about what if you're looking to use this to reinforce knowledge that you're teaching in the classroom, you could actually have them do an activity that relates to history or something that they're learning, right?
Exactly, yeah. So we're not going to dive in too much deeper on this, but this is what you could dive into a little bit more and expand and do a completely different question set regarding whatever you'd like.
Cool, great example.
So the next thing we're going to go to is a YouTube video series. It's created by Alexa developers. So there's an account on YouTube, Alexa developers.
So students have to create an account on developers.
No. It's the
But they do have to do that as part of their steps that they want to get doing this and
Oh
publish it.
yes.
Yeah.
So and from a school perspective, that means you gotta be hand in hand with your IT team, ready to release whatever websites are needed and accounts are needed for the students to move forward.
I'm going to stop you there for a second and talk about one really important thing with that. If you're a school and you want to do some of this type of work in your school district, really you want to sign up for Amazon Educate. So through Amazon Educate, you can get free access to these education platforms and classrooms and resources, so that you don't have to worry about some of those aspects of it that could be a challenge with your students, right? So signing up for things and that they can use some of these services and resources through the Amazon Educate platform. So definitely, and maybe we'll do a session on that one point because that's a really good topic.
Cool. So this YouTube video, it's called Zero to Hero. And the idea is that you're coming in with no knowledge whatsoever, and they're going to talk through the logic, the architecture, the code, and working all the way up to having a functioning Alexa skill. And I believe, if we take a look at the playlist, it even comes down to publishing. So at the end of this, you're not saving it locally on your computer, and this is so good. You always need to be building your portfolio, and portfolios only exist when other people can see them, right?
Yep. And that's when you need the developer account on Amazon to sign up for that.
Yeah.
Yep, if you want to publish it. Yep.
So exactly. Once you've got something published, it's there. You can grab the URL, put it in your back pocket, and use it for interviews, getting into colleges or
it's great portfolio
prestigious
builder,
high
right?
schools
It's a great portfolio
or
builder.
jobs.
Yep.
And a lot of the time, it's the classic situation. Entry-level job, 4 years experience. You see it all the time, especially in the tech world.
Yeah.
And this is how you prove your experience, through a portfolio with existing code that's been pushed up to GitHub for years, or you've been building apps and they have a little tagline created in whatever it may be, 2021, and that might be the tiny thing that gets you past the other individual and into your
Now, so let's
dream
talk
job.
about GitHub for a second there. And this is really important for those educators listening. And we teach this to all of our students, all of our programs. It's important that students get on GitHub early as possible. If they're going to be doing development, there's no reason why and GitHub is acquired by Microsoft recently, and now they're integrating classroom features and capabilities, which I think is super important, and I'm thrilled that they're doing this, because in order for students to really demonstrate their portfolio, to either if they want to get an internship or college apps, the college recruiters, if they're going to a computer science degree program, and it's a really competitive one, then they're going to want to have their GitHub stuff set up, right? So they can get their GitHub and they can show, and GitHub, people publicly can see how often you're pushing and adding code to GitHub, so they can tell whether you're a serious developer or not, right?
Yeah,
Employers, right?
we've had a so first of all, there's a really popular series, 100 Days of Code. A lot of people try and tackle that themselves, where they're just coding at least once a day for 100 days, not taking the weekend off or anything.
Yep.
And then we definitely have one bootcamp student, graduate, who's now happily employed, and he credits his success to two things: pushing code every single day during the boot camp and working super hard once he had the ability to apply for jobs, send out a lot of applications. But you never know. Could just be like the hiring manager just goes to your GitHub and sees a massive block of green dots saying you coded on all those days. Says, obviously this person has the passion. I'll put them on my team, and that passion is going to come through.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So we've got our YouTube video, our YouTube series. Next is taking it from the other perspective, right? Documentation. So a lot of the time you might be going through tutorials that are not so video based. They're more written out. There might be blocks of code that you have to understand and integrate into your own skill in this environment.
Right.
So we're building Alexa skills. And this is also built by Amazon, by the Alexa team. They've got their training modules. It's going to be super similar to the YouTube series, but you're just compounding your experience, right? The first time you do it, there's a pretty high chance that you don't really know what's going on.
Right.
And that's how it is.
As you read it, the light bulb's going off and things are clicking, right? Yeah.
Yes. So second time through, so for me, let's put it like this. First time through, I'm figuring it out. Second time through, I'm understanding it. Third plus, I'm becoming skilled.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right. So it's iterations.
Absolutely, yeah. And then once you've done enough development, your skills become transferable. So maybe on your first time through of doing something, it'll be super similar to many of the other things you've done in the past. And that's when you're able to, one time through, and now you're like, I feel a little skilled in this, even though it's just once.
So building your confidence, that's great.
Exactly. We're not going to go through the modules today. That might be something we do in the future. But the final piece to this is getting certified. Having an AWS certification can easily lead to landing a job.
And we know, we've seen that.
Yes. We've had, who's it, Shamika on the show?
Yep.
And she accredits, her employment to having the AWS certification as we...
And the bootcamp.
Yeah, exactly. We have our bootcamp students do.
Yeah.
So this course is free, and it is aimed at training individuals towards getting certified with the Alexa skills. It's built by Code Academy, a very strong company. They make a lot of curriculum all the time. And once you're done with this course, you should feel comfortable taking the AWS certification. Once you've got the AWS certification, even as somebody who may not have a traditional education, like college and whatnot, you should feel pretty comfortable sending across your application. And you really want to do that very rapidly after you get certified, so your skills are still fresh.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about certifications and the value there for individuals. So it's really, getting a certification, your first one especially, can be challenging, right? Mm-hmm. But what we find is that once you get one certification, then you start to really get really good at them, and you start to build your competency, you build your value for yourself and for employment, right? And employers look at that. Employers, just because you have a certification doesn't mean you know everything, but it demonstrates, right? It's just a demonstration of your capabilities and your ability to kind of take on something and learn it, right? And then pass an exam to prove that you comprehended that content. So certifications today are really important.
Yeah, and just as you were saying, like tackling something and taking it to completion, that's grit, right? So this is not easy. At some point, there's going to be something that's difficult, and if that's not the case, you're going to drive yourself to go further. Eventually, you reach something that's difficult, and that's when your grit gets tested. And it's all about understanding yourself and pacing yourself and looking to take something to completion, and then you can make the decision. Ultimately, once you're done with it, is this something that is really relevant to me and what I want to do? Yeah,
and reality is people say, well, you get that certification and then that technology doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, that's true, it happens. Mm-hmm. And so, I've got certifications that are no longer relevant anymore in the industry because the technology is not there anymore. That happens, but a lot of times what you're learning is transferable to the next technology, right? So it's really about that transferable skill capabilities that you're getting from doing that.
Yeah, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than college.
Yes, it is a hell of a lot cheaper than college. And not that we don't want to deter people going from college, but just reality is in today's workforce, if you're reskilling and retooling yourself, doesn't mean you have to go back to school. It means that you can go back to a trade school or a Nebula Academy. It's really about choices that you have to be able to make decisions that fit your needs, your individual needs. Is it, can I take a 4-month course or a 3-month course online? What can I do, and what's my best learning opportunity for me and experience that I might have for myself individually? Because not everybody can learn online by themselves. And so that's why we do instructor-led training with Nebula Academy, because we feel that same way with some people. They need a little bit of hand-holding and assistance. And certainly, if you want to learn something online and you're curious, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help give you some guidance. We'll answer your questions and address your anything you're interested in learning. We'll help support you to find that path. That's what we're here for. So cool. So certifications, lots of content to share, lots of information to kind of take this to whatever level you want.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, with these 4 links, and enough time in your hands.
And willpower.
Yeah, and willpower, exactly.
Yeah.
You-
And grit.
You're going from hey, I like this device to, applying. You could literally drop Alexa skills into a job search box and then apply to those jobs.
Yep. Very cool. All right. So thanks again for joining us today and sharing this cool stuff with us. We're going to say goodbye to everybody and let them go. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this tech session. And if you have more questions about our organization, you can go to our website at nebulaacademy.com. And if you are interested in our programs for young adults or volunteering, WeConnectTheDots.org. Love to have you. And if you want to give a donation, we'd love to have you support us in providing scholarships for students who need it most. Thank you.